And hello again from WJ Live, powered by The Western Journal. I'm Josh Manning, Deputy Managing Editor at The Western Journal. Joining me on my left are Joe Setyen, also Deputy Managing Editor at The Western Journal, editor for Story. He's the guy who makes sure that my team, when we put stories together, that we're actually factual and tell the truth. He is the truth gatekeeper
Truth
here.
is one of our thingies.
And on my right is Crackerjack reporter Andrew Shasha, also for The Western Journal. Thank you guys for being here today. And thank you for being here and joining in the conversation. We appreciate you tuning in and taking time out of your day to visit with us. And we do want this to be a back and forth. But remember, you can always post in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And we've got a packed show for you today. We're going to be talking about stuff going on at the White House, stuff going on with the lovely and gracious Nikki Haley. But some people are saying she's not so lovely and gracious right now. And we also want to talk a little bit about impeachment and some of the rhetoric going on over there. But first off, Valentine's Day is, 2 days away? 2 days away, I think. And I am very fortunate because my son is a Valentine's baby. So he gets all the attention on Valentine's Day. I don't ever have to worry about getting a gift or anything like that for my wife. It never sneaks up on me.
Well, I don't have to worry about anything on Valentine's Day.
A great bonus. You don't have to worry about anything on Valentine's Day. Andrew has to worry about a whole lot because he's dating way over where he should be. I mean, he needs to hold on to her like grim death. Anyway, speaking of Valentine's Day and hearts and those sorts of things, new decorations at the White House. Tell us about
new decorations at the White House popped up this morning. First Lady Jill Biden had some, what looked like paper hearts with some nice buzzwords on them. We're going to throw that
Dr. Jill Biden.
Dr. Jill Biden. Dr. Jill Biden.
She is a heck of a medical doctor, according to Whoopi Goldberg, I believe. Heck of a medical doctor.
Regardless,
she has an EDD.
The First Lady put out some paper hearts, with some buzzwords on them. We'll throw that up on the screen. You can see it for yourself. I'm going to read a few of them right now, and they say healing, coverage, love, compassion, gratitude, peace, amour, strength, kindness, family, and unity.
Those hearts looked remarkably like you and me, Joe.
They
remarkably like you and me. But that's okay. You can imagine them at home.
Yes, you can. Sorry, they're not on the screen, obviously. Right. But you can get the picture, right? And then White House press secretary tweets out, compassion and kindness is back. Isn't that nice to know?
Oh, thank goodness.
Now, here's the thing. I've been trying to...
Wait a minute. Well, hang on. White House press secretary?
Yes.
So the same person who's over... The White House spokesman who's just suspended.
I'll get to that.
Well, okay, all right. I don't want to step on your story. Sorry.
Sorry. I'm getting to it.
The hearts weren't there. I got confused.
Don't you worry. But regardless, this morning, I was pretty upset about this, and I'm trying to figure out why I'm so upset, why I don't like it. After all, it's just hearts, right?
Because you're petty?
Because I'm petty, yes. Because I have a cold heart. Maybe people
ridiculous.
Have said that before.
It
is ridiculous. And it's not because there's something wrong inherently with putting paper hearts on the White House lawn. Who cares, really? I couldn't care. The fact of the matter is the Biden administration and the Biden family has been preaching something to us for more than a year now, almost 2 years since Biden first announced his run for the White House in April 2019. What he's been trying to say is unity, restoring normalcy, the soul of America, all of these buzzwords. And what this reveals is that all of that stuff they're trying to preach about how they're going to take America back to how it was before, that's all they have. All they have are some buzzwords that they put out on the lawn that they can, tweet about and market the crap out of and make it look great, right? And some people buy into it, but that's all they have. It's so shallow. They don't have anything to actually unite the country. They don't have anything to actually, put back any normalcy in the good way. They don't have kindness. They don't have compassion. They don't have any of the stuff that...
Hey, there are the hearts.
There's the hearts. You can see them now. They're up on the screen. It's my cold heart making me unable to speak. And here's the thing that really annoys me, right? These buzzwords, they make us feel all warm and fuzzy in the inside, or at least that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to make people who
on
don't
some of
think
us,
about
they're
it.
less effective than others.
Yes, and they're supposed to make us think, oh, isn't it so sweet? We have the Biden administration and the Biden family, and they really care about us, and kindness and compassion and unity and these meaningless phrases. And here's the thing. Do you know how I know how shallow this is? Because look at what Biden's done in his first less than a month as president.
There we go.
Okay? He has completely alienated one of our biggest allies, Israel. He has yet to call Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, even though he has called the Chinese president, Xi Jinping.
For 2 hours.
Yes.
President and slave master.
Exactly. Literally, literal slave master. Yeah. He's pushed for a $15 minimum wage, which we know there is hard evidence that this hurts American workers and American small businesses. He has cost thousands of good-paying union jobs. Biden was supposed to be the union guy, and he has just cost them by getting rid of the Keystone Pipeline. He has moved the goalposts on reopening schools. He said he was going to have, a majority of schools reopened by day 100. And now the White House is saying what that basically means is some sort of teaching in, classrooms once a week. And hopefully it's more, but they're just moving the goalposts. And then yesterday, he has the gall to say, yeah, we might be wearing masks through the next year or so. And yet he's doing such a bad job, and yet what they want you to focus on are these meaningless buzzwords. I've been talking for a while, so I'm now going to let you guys chime in because I'm getting tired of talking.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just kind of epitomizes all of what we've seen in the last year on the election trail was that essentially, and on the campaign trail, was essentially that the whole idea was just look at President Donald Trump, or now former President Donald Trump. He's very unlikable.
Yeah.
As a hardline traditionalist conservative myself, I fell in line with some of that talk. I think he definitely was kind of unlikable as an individual. But at the end of the day, his policy was good. And what got done was good, and the strength that he brought to the table was good. Unfortunately, Biden doesn't bring any good policy to the table. He doesn't bring any good personality to the table. And he's weak as, 10-month-old wet toilet paper. So
that's
essentially,
what an analogy.
I mean, I don't see what he brings to the table. And so this was all that they had. I mean, we saw all this talk about how, there was going to be this return to normalcy. And that is what we've seen. We've absolutely seen a return to completely normal, Washington as usual, bureaucratic cronyism. Right down to, we are going to listen to the scientists in this administration, only to tell our, health officials to sit down and shut up when they say that we should probably start opening the schools.
The CDC is trying to warn us, open the schools.
Exactly.
You got to do it.
And so at the end of the day, this whole unity ticket message, it may have been absolutely right, but it brought us back to the normal that doesn't work, and the normal that doesn't do much of anything other than fill pockets in Washington and keep the machine going day and night.
And keep that warm, fuzzy feeling, in some people's hearts, if they have them, of, everything's fine. I have people who care about me. I don't really have to worry about that. And it's, yeah.
This reminded me, for some reason, of Michelle Obama's, what was it, Bring Our Girls Home?
Yes.
Wasn't that the hashtag? Yep. It was this hashtag diplomacy, and now we have this weird paper heart unity kind of thing going on out there. I agree that it's vacuous.
Paper thin.
And, the sentiment itself, so here's the deal you really have to watch with the left, and a lot of you who are watching know this. They are just tremendous sleight of hand experts, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with any of those hearts that are on the White House lawn, except that they're there to distract from what the truth actually is. And Joe, I think in your remarkably animated opening, 30 seconds before we went on the air, he was slouched in his chair with his eyes closed saying, "I'm so tired." I think you're right, though, because and I think the impetus behind your animation there is you see how empty it is.
Yeah.
And it's a sleight of hand. It's a distraction. Hey, look at all of this nice stuff here. These are nice, warm feelings. But warm feelings, and a buck will get you a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Not a buck.
And that's it depends on what kind of coffee you're getting. The kind of coffee I drink.
You need to get some better coffee.
But American Joe, that's what I want. Just like that, American Joe. But so what they're doing is, on one hand, they've got this. On the other hand, you've got pipeline workers who are jobless now. You've got minimum wage going up, and it's going to put other people
Hopefully
out of business. And these are the people. Again, the thing to keep in mind here: these are the least. These are some of the most vulnerable people out there. Folks who are making minimum wage jobs, they are more vulnerable than big, deep-pocketed Democrat donors. The idea that the Democrats are the party of the people, if they ever were, which is debatable, if they ever were, it should be dead now, never to rise
The
again.
idea that they're the party of unity is a complete rewrite of history.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you want to talk about unity, or I guess the division facing this country and how we need to get over it, Biden needs only to look back 8 years to the president that created much of that division. I mean, we can talk about Donald Trump exacerbating it. We can say at the very least that he declared America divided and went forward with under that paradigm. But there is no question that with rhetoric like, these rural Americans clinging to their Bibles and their guns under the Obama administration was what divided the country, was what created a lot of the upwelling of anti-establishment sentiment that we saw under President Trump. So this idea that they're now going to come and fix what they broke is, first of all, absolute and utter nonsense. And second of all, incredibly dangerous that it was bought into by a pretty large swath of the American population.
Yeah, I think you're right. What'll be interesting is to see what next Valentine's Day looks like.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, are we still going to be wearing? Well, I won't be wearing a mask regardless. I don't wear one now. But will other people still be wearing masks? Will COVID still be out there? What will the situation with ISIS look like? What will the economy look like? What will gas prices look like? What will electricity prices look like? Will Washington still be a barbed wire National Guard buttressed fortress there? That's what's going to be interesting. The honeymoon's still going on right now, and somebody mentioned Biden and how he's appeared lately. They are keeping him under tight lock and key. It's very hard to see him. And they're not going to be able to do that, I think, forever.
No.
Even this fawning press is going to get tired of that. And you said you were going to bring up. I want to do that. I want to do that.
Yeah.
I want them to hear.
No, but TJ Ducklo, he is, I think, a deputy press secretary for the Biden administration. A couple of days ago, maybe it was a week, I don't quite remember, a story came out, a fawning profile in People magazine that said he was dating a reporter from Axios. And it was so cute and sweet and nice. And, isn't this cool? Young love blossoms, yada, yada, yada. Comes out today that Mr. Ducklo apparently harassed, made some very crude remarks, very mean. I won't repeat any of it here, but there was a Politico reporter who was also pursuing the story, and he basically threatened her and harassed her when she was doing so. He's now been suspended because Joe Biden promised...
For a week.
For a week. Joe Biden promised on his first day that if people who work for him basically didn't play nice with their colleagues, if they treated them rudely or with disrespect, he would fire them. And TJ Ducklo has not been fired. He's been given essentially a slap on the wrist. But it just goes to show how shallow this messages of kindness and unity and love, compassion, gratitude, yada, yada, yada. It goes to show how shallow it is, because look at these high-ranking officials in the Biden administration and look what they're doing when they think no one's watching.
Right. So essentially, the bring it full circle, essentially the paper hearts and everything, those are saying for you, not for us. Good for thee, not for me. You unify with us. We're not going to move. You be kind. We're going to threaten to destroy reporters who are sexually intimidating to us or whatever, like Mr. Duclos did. That's the size. So the hypocrisy is enormous, and we want to talk more about that hypocrisy. The second impeachment of Donald J. Trump continues, arguably unconstitutional impeachment, certainly a pointless impeachment as far as the American public goes. But a fantastic video. We talked yesterday a little bit about the many times Joe Biden seems to have threatened violence in a political context. Well, a fantastic video is out there now. This is the kind of thing we used to call a supercut of Democrats and what they have said about violence in the past, and also what they have said about objecting to the certification of electoral votes and things like that. The video is a couple minutes long. It's absolutely worth watching. I think you'll find it riveting. Let's roll that now.
Donald Trump committed a massive crime against our Constitution and our people, and the worst violation of the presidential oath of office in the history of the United States of America.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
By telling the mob that their election had been stolen from them.
I have an objection because 10 of the 29 electoral votes cast by Florida were cast by electors not lawfully certified.
Even then, after that vicious attack, he continued to spread the big lie.
I think it's also critical to understand you can run the best campaign and you can have the election stolen from you.
This was months of cultivating a base of people who were violent. Praising that violence.
And everyone beware. They're not going to let up, and they should not.
And he still gave that marching orders and, quote, fight like hell.
Democrats are going to fight like hell.
We're going to fight like hell.
We'll fight like hell.
We'll fight like hell.
But can you imagine telling your supporters that the only way you could possibly lose is if an American election was rigged and stolen from you?
And you can have the election stolen from you.
And ask yourself whether you've ever seen anyone at any level of government make the same claim about their own election.
And you can have the election stolen from you.
And in the months the president made these statements, people listened. Armed supporters surrounded election officials' homes. The Secretary of State for Georgia got death threats.
And they were shouting threats, to us to kill us. We cannot go outside now. It's become so dangerous for us.
When he saw firsthand the violence that his conduct was creating,
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
He didn't condemn the violence, incited it further.
They're not going to let up, and they should not.
Fight like hell. Yeah. Fight like hell. Fight like hell. I'm not sure what if our mics were on, you heard us laughing while that was rolling, because that was absolutely fantastic. And then when Hillary talked about having an election stolen after the narrative of an election being stolen was condemned.
To Mr. Castro's point, I have never seen anyone at any level of government go that far. She's not at any level of government. She was not elected president of the United States.
A fair point.
To his point, he can have that point. He can have that point.
That is a fair point. So when we were talking about the show ahead of time earlier today, I said, look, I want to run this video and we can just kind of riff on it a little bit. One thing that occurred to me while I was watching it, it is very easy to look at video of January 6th and video of Rand Paul being attacked and these things and say, well, we're stuck in this tit for tat kind of back and forth. You can't really tell who moved first. And that has bothered me for so long. Definitionally, conservatives don't move first. They're the group that's trying to hold everything together. They're the group that's trying to keep society from spinning out of control. Now, conservatives can go too far and become calcified, and that's where people who want to push boundaries and can be a little more progressive, that's where they're actually useful. But conservatives aren't the ones who make the first move. What we have seen as far as political violence goes, as far as calls for revolution, as far as attacking politicians go, that has started on the left. It has always started on the left. It is consistently on the left. People will immediately come back and say, oh, no, Nazi Germany is the exception to that. They were right. They were right-leaning people. They were not. They were authoritarians. They were authoritarians. They were the exact opposite of conservatives. This tit-for-tat idea is just absolute bunk, I think. I'm curious what you guys think about that.
Well, I mean, the first thing that got said essentially when conservatives started bringing up pretty much the entirety of last year following George Floyd in light of January 6th was the immediate beratement of conservatives with this is whataboutism. This is whataboutism. This is
right. Yeah, exactly.
And to be fair, we have there was a former editor here at Western Journal, Becca, always used to tell me when I was writing, avoid whataboutism like the plague. I would have to agree. I think it's a pretty useless thing to just say, well, what about when so-and-so did this? It doesn't change anything. But when we're talking about last year's riots, it's not whataboutism. It's called setting your yardstick. It's called figuring out what instruments you're going to use to measure. And if we use last year as the measuring stick for political violence in this country, January 6th was a drop in the bucket, and that's sad because there was violence, there was a death, and there have been resulting deaths in light of it. But this idea that it's whataboutism to say, well, look at what happened last year and look at how vile that was, when will the other side take responsibility for what they've done? And I have advocated for the right to take responsibility for what little hand they've had to play in what happened on January 6th. I've advocated for that. But if the left cannot decide to wake up in the next year or so, hopefully in the next couple weeks, and say what happened last year was their fault, was absolutely their fault by their own metrics right now with this impeachment, they have no ground to stand on for this impeachment.
Well, it's all terminology. I don't think that's going to happen. The left is not going to do that. Hopefully there are some Democrats left who are not leftists but are liberals, yes. Irritating liberals, but not leftists. There is a difference. Liberals are irritating, but not all liberals are leftists. Hopefully that will happen, and I think we may see some of that. But Joe, this is just absolute par for the course for the institutional left, isn't it?
I mean, even if you go back 100 years, right, the Bolshevik Revolution. I mean, the kind of the pages of history are splattered with the blood of revolutions that were started on the left. Yes, I mean, Vietnam's was communist. Soviet Russia was obviously communist. The
Korea, decolonization.
Korea. Even you talked about Nazi Germany.
The Jews, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And even if you go to Italy, right, fascist, Benito Mussolini, a fascist dictator, but again, he was big government. He was a dictator. The government controls what you do, and big government is the left. I think that you can, as Andrew said, you can take responsibility for the violence on the right, because there is a sin. We have sin in the world, which means that there are people on all sides who do sinful things, like violence. But obviously the left is way more prone to this kind of stuff. It's just so many revolutions have been because of Marxism, because Marxism preaches that you have to change. You have to change and take over from the upper class. The proletariat, I think, I'm not very good with my terms.
Well,
the proletariat
would,
always...
No, the bourgeoisie
would bourgeoisie always has to, move on up and take over from the proletariat. So that's just what the left is about. It's about change, and far too often that just leads to revolution. And violence.
The whole idea is that the proletariat will rise up and overthrow the bourgeois capitalist.
And that's what I get for not having my terms right, because I haven't.
No. You know that. I was just clarifying for those who are watching. This is true. This is the nature of leftism. So, shifting gears just a little bit, and we've kind of run long on these, but that's okay. We got plenty of time, Andrew. One story that popped up today, and I've actually not been able to get to, so I'm interested in hearing your take on it. Nikki Haley is back in the news, and she said some things that have sort of divided people, and maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's not. Tell us about that.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So, prominent contender or a thought to be a prominent contender for the 2024 Republican presidential primary, Nikki Haley has come out and essentially said in a political, let's backtrack. There was a lengthy feature article about Nikki Haley in Politico magazine that came out today. It's called Nikki Haley's Time for Choosing. The 2024 hopeful can't decide who she wants to be, the leader of a post-Trump GOP or a, quote, friend to the president who tried to sabotage democracy. Now,
well, at least they're unbiased.
Oh, exactly. At least they're presenting an honest take here. And so one of the quotes that has really bubbled to the fore this morning from that story was Nikki Haley saying, we need to acknowledge that Donald Trump, let us down. Now, she was his UN ambassador for the early part of the administration. She went on to say, he went down a path he shouldn't have, and we shouldn't have followed him, and we shouldn't have listened to him, and we can't let that happen ever again. Now, out of context, that's pretty aggravating. That's an aggravating establishment sentiment against Donald Trump. It's what you're hearing from the Cheneys of the world, from Kinzinger. It's what you're hearing from the Republican establishment as they try to cut weight and move away from Donald Trump as they escape the endless fire that is, the left eating up the conservative base and the conservative, figures of Congress. They're trying to be eaten last. Now, of course, you have to contextualize. She's talking about here the January 6th Capitol incursion. She's saying that, this election fraud discussion, some of the kind of far ends of that discussion with the Dominion systems and certain things that have not yet been proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we shouldn't have followed down that path, and that it led a lot of already angry people to take things to extremes and to go to an avenue where their anger should not have been directed, essentially, and in a way that it should not have been directed. Now, that's how the story was run. The story was unfortunately run by folks like Politico, and then everyone else who aggregated it on the left. The Hill writes, Nikki Haley breaks with Trump. We shouldn't have followed him. That's not the headline, and that's not the story.
Fake news.
And so we hear all about this unity message, Joe. And so what I'm wondering is we hear all the time from the left about, the Republicans, why can't they put forward someone with more honor than Donald Trump? When are they going to return to normalcy? We want someone like John McCain. For all intents and purposes, Nikki Haley is someone more in the line of John McCain.
When
they hated when he ran.
Racist John McCain.
Romney, who they hated when he ran.
Binders full of women.
We've got folks.
That was funny.
We've got a woman here who is more in that vein. I think she has separated herself from the John McCains of the world in a number of ways. She's far more gritty and far more like Trump than a lot of people give her credit for, but absolutely a more establishmentarian figure in the party. So why is it that the Democrats are, pushing this narrative that they want a more normal Republican Party, and then the first chance they get, they slash the tires of, this establishmentarian figure who could kind of bridge the gap? Is it that essentially, are they revealing right here in this story that they don't want a normal Republican Party, they want a divided Republican Party?
Maybe it could also be that they have the emotional and intellectual maturity of 8-year-olds, but Joe, you probably got a better insight on it.
Yeah, I think that it always helps to paint the other side as more, I won't say radical, but as more to that side than it is. So the left is always trying to paint conservatives as QAnon people, as domestic terrorists, as, nut jobs, you name it, whatever. And that's what they're trying to do here by basically saying, look, conservatives are crazy. They're trying to say that. Politico is trying to say that. They're not really hiding it, no. Right? And what they're basically trying to say is, look, all Republicans are around this cult of personality around Trump. All they care about is Donald Trump. They don't care about policy. They just care about Trump, 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 Trump. Instead of saying, look, Nikki Haley made some well-reasoned, some very nuanced comments about January 6th and about what happened before that. But what they're trying to do is just say it's all of the Republicans are on Trump, 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 and then Nikki Haley broke with that. Yeah. And it's a crack. And it's not. There's room for nuance. Yes. And the media doesn't like nuance. And the Democrats don't like nuance either.
Yeah, I agree with that. We talk about animus on here every now and then, and I think maybe it's displayed in there when you argue that Nikki Haley is actually what's needed, and then you tank Nikki Haley. There's the intellectual conflict involved in that. To me, makes me kind of think, okay, there's probably just some basically anti-Republican or anti-conservative, anti-GOP animus there. The thing that I guess first pops into mind for me with this is that if the left is attacking something, normally I tend to think, oh, well, it's probably a pretty good thing, whatever it is. And so if they're moving against Nikki Haley this early, that to me, that makes me think she's a threat, and she's someone that they don't like.
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, what'd you say?
Maybe she is someone who actually can, tug the line of, look, she's loyal. She was very loyal to Trump. She's pro-Trump, but she's not the cult of Trump personality. She's not just all Trump all the time. She has her own views, and she's able to hug that line very well.
So yes, I agree with that completely.
Which is why they think she's a threat.
It also makes me think of Ron DeSantis a little bit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The same kind of thing.
Gritty figures who have been under Trump, who have capitalized on what Trump has done,
but
and
it's
who have
not
been
just
close
Trump
to him, but without being
without
Trump,
his
wanting
foibles.
to be Trump.
Their shtick isn't just I'm a mini Trump.
Exactly.
Right. So I think that's a really good. That's a good conclusion. That's also a good place to kind of. Do you have anything? It's a good place to wrap.
I had one
unless you got
final
something
question.
else.
I want to pull out of
bonus time,
Joe, what you were saying here.
Lightning round, folks.
Because I'm hearing, and I love to hear this because I'm a big fan myself of Nikki Haley's ideology and what she's done. She's a good candidate. So what I want to know about this
You're a Nikki Haley shill. We all know that.
Unquestionably. So what I want to know about this, I guess, is that, Joe, I want to pull out of something that you said. Republicans don't like nuance, Democrats don't like nuance, and the media especially does not like nuance. But the voters also don't seem to like nuance either. A lot of people avoid nuance.
Well, no one likes nuance.
I don't know about that. Keep going.
It seems to me in the current climate that people don't like nuance. That's all I want to say. And so, when we have this nuance statement being taken in this way and run with in this way, is this going to injure Nikki Haley's chances in 2024 with Republicans who did support Donald Trump and who do like to be in that very tough and tight Trump camp? Josh, what do you think?
No, I don't think it will this far out. I think it's too early they launched this too early. There's plenty of time for Nikki Haley to distance herself from this and show the nuance that you're talking about. So I think if that's what they were going for, and I think it probably was what they were going for, they launched it too early.
I think that it's now February 2021. We're going to start hearing chatter after the midterms about who's going to run for president. Usually it's around winter, spring of probably 2023 when candidates will start forming their PACs, exploratory committees, start announcing. There's so much time. That's 2 years.
2 years too early.
And she has so much she can still do. She has a lot more ways she can still mess up.
Yeah, 100%.
She's probably one of the front runners now. She could move
peak
to the back
early.
of the pack. She could peak. She could, do the opposite of that. But yeah, it's just so early, and this seems to me like a news cycle that'll last a week.
5 minutes,
yeah, 5 minutes in the grand scheme of things.
I agree. My guess is that Politico just stumbled into this. They were doing an interview and then saw the opportunity.
It's worth noting that the guy who wrote the Politico article is Tim Alberta, who has written a bunch of stuff about Republicans. It's kind of his beat. And that was his last article for Politico because he is now moving on to The Atlantic. So he probably wanted to get it out.
He'll have plenty of time.
I think he's a very good writer.
Atlantic,
sure,
too.
but he probably wanted to get it out for
The Atlantic
Politico.
used to be actually a decent. They're steeped in this stuff now.
So it may have been like a last minute dump your story because you gotta use it. So.
There's maybe the takeaway for this weekend's coming up. Let's end on a high note. One of the encouraging things, if they're going after somebody like Nikki this early, I think that's a good thing. I love the idea of Ron DeSantis. We've talked about Tim Scott around the office a whole lot.
I really like
there are neat and I don't know how you folks feel about it. I continue to see Tulsi Gabbard moving back toward her roots a little bit, which is a much more conservative kind of position. She is still a
socialist. Don't forget.
We may be able to get her on this.
She is a socialist.
Well, there's no way to count the number of people who are getting red-pilled daily by what's going on out there. And I hold out. Everybody is until they're not. I hold out hope that something could happen there. But I say all of that to say, I think there's some neat options coming out for 2024. And Kamala is profoundly flawed candidate.
Even if Biden runs again, I mean, he's also a flawed
if he runs. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to trust him.
What the Republicans
are
doing, and it's very good. All of these candidates that we're sort of talking about, they're young. They're new. They're not
a lot of new
nothing
blood.
wrong. There's nothing wrong with older men in their 60s or 70s running for president. But these are new blood. These are people who haven't been around forever. There's something else.
DeSantis is going to come out of COVID a hero.
Yeah, because he's been the best governor.
Nikki was a great governor, and she's dealt with the horrors of the UN and has really put people in their place.
Tim Scott
has stood up
Uncle Tom
so much.
Yes. And is a good man. Good man.
These are battle hardened conservatives who are they see that something's got to change.
Yeah.
And I think they want to be part of that. And that's exciting.
It's something to look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Not all is bad.
And with that, we hope you guys have a good weekend. Thanks for joining us on WJ Live, powered by the Western Journal. We are here every Monday through Friday, coming to you live from our studios in Phoenix. Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. While you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to click the subscribe button. Also, click the little bell. That's going to let you know. That's going to make sure that when we go live, you're going to get a notification for it. We hope you guys have a good weekend. Be watching the Western Journal for the latest on impeachment and any news that breaks over the weekend. You can also partner with us by going to westernjournal.com/join. That's westernjournal.com/join. There's several ways you can support us there. Partner with us. We're actually going to have a President's Day special going up pretty soon. So check out westernjournal.com/join. And you'll see that we're going to be giving away a free month of worth of subscription for Andrew and Joe and all the other folks at WJ Live and the Western Journal. Thanks for joining us. We hope you have a great weekend.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, and we'll see you Monday. Hey guys, huge story. We need a fresh card. Let's red label it. Roll as fast as we can.
All right, on it. Sounds good. All right, guys, we got a red label breaking story. Can we get a picture for that? And can we try to get that out in the next 20 minutes? I want eyes on it as soon as possible.
On it, Joe. 2 more minutes and we'll be live.
Sam, we're going to need a slot for that story, so figure out what you want to bump. Ashley, we're going to want to translate it into Spanish yesterday.
Sí, señor. We can slide it in at 2:30. It should be going out here in about 10 minutes.